Hey guys, it's Cooper Codes, and today is day 7 of the challenge. So if you're wondering about the problems I was doing yesterday, I finished problem 4, not in the videos, so I got that done, and I decided to skip problem 5 because it involves recursion, and I'm going to be getting definitely deeper into recursion later. I feel like after I get through objects, recursion will be my next step. Now, recursion isn't that hard, or as I've heard, it's not that hard, so I don't think I'll have lots of problems with it. It's just I don't want to get into something that I don't really know a lot about. Like when I was getting into objects and I didn't really know about objects, I just made some bad code and it didn't really feel like a valuable experience. So yeah, today I'm just going to be taking some textbook notes, just grinding through the textbook pretty much, and taking out any valuable information. So yeah, here it goes into the time lapse. Alright guys, so here's the time lapse of the notes. So it talked about assignment operators. I didn't really write a lot of that down because it's in the book. See, these notes are more for me. I'm not making it for the video, but if you're watching the video, there's still lots of valuable stuff you can gain from these, especially if you're getting into JavaScript. Conditional operator. So I didn't know about this guy. It's like a question mark in the middle, and it's pretty much like an if statement. You'll see how it's like an if statement when I make this example. I do lots of reading. There was a decent amount of reading I did today. I read so much I got into chapter 5, which is I forget chapter 5. I just started it. Statements. Chapter 5 is all about statements. So yeah. So yeah, you'll see in this example how the if-else statement is the same thing as the statement with the little conditional question mark in there, and then I tested out the code just to make sure it's true. I try and do that with most of my code examples that I'm not super confident in, but I don't test every single code example. So, but usually if I don't test it, it's because it's pretty simple. If it's anything decently complicated, I always test it. Yes. So the delete operator. Okay. Just doing some research on a certain topic that they mentioned in the book real fast, if you saw that. So yeah, the delete operator is interesting. It the book explains it as the property simply does not exist anymore, but it is still there in the array. So it's not the most efficient way to delete something from an array. So for example, if you see in this second example, it's an array, and it has if you do myArray.length, even after you delete it, it's still 3, even though there's only 2 actual elements. One of the elements is undefined. And then I just did some wrapping up operators and expressions. I just mentioned to myself that I didn't go over each operator. I probably went over about 50%, 60% of the operators. So yeah, this is a good chapter to look back on. Okay. So you started getting really interesting. I kind of like the statements chapter. Pretty interesting stuff. So yeah, expression statements are just the simple stuff. You'll see here, I give some examples of all the expression statements that you'll probably encounter. Just defining stuff, using functions, incrementing numbers is one. And then I do some reading here, I'm pretty sure is why it's taking so long. Yeah, and then compound statements. These are not that difficult. It's just you can put statements inside a little block of yeah, parentheses, and you're just good. Okay, declaration statements. So var and function. Yeah, so I already knew what var was, so I didn't make any examples. And I also noted that JS is forgiving in that you can't really mess up if you declare the same variable more than once. So always err to the side of declaring the variable. That's what I learned from that chapter. And just know how to define your functions. And the 2 ways to define functions are important, but I talked about that earlier too. So some of this stuff overlaps, which is kind of cool. if. I already knew about the if. I wasn't even gonna take notes on it until I saw the else if, and I was like, I might as well put that in my notes. Switch statement though, I knew nothing about. So I didn't know like a single thing about this, but it's actually pretty cool. So it's kind of like, it's pretty much like an if statement, or like a collection of if statements, except instead of having to write out like the if syntax, you just say like case 1, and it checks like the expression given in the switch statement. So that's kind of cool. So you can like test for like a bunch of different things, and like have a different code output based on like the expression. So yeah, that's pretty cool. And there's also a thing called default, where if none of the cases return like a good value or return true, it goes to a default. But I learned that you don't have to have a default in there, so that's pretty cool. And I gave a switch example. I did loop statements. I think I ended up changing that to uncommon loop statements because I didn't talk about while or for loops. I talked about the ones I haven't really done yet. So it was the do while loop and the for in loop, and then the for in loop. And after that, I finish up my code. I say, and the next thing is jump statements. Some examples of jump statements are like return or break. So yeah, I'm going to be getting into that in the next video. Alright guys, so that was my day of programming. If you enjoyed that, feel free to hit the like button, subscribe. If you want to join my Discord, if you're interested in the challenge, comment below for it, or I might put the Discord in the description, but if it's not in there, comment below and I can always send it. Alright guys, thanks for watching the video. See you later.